What secrets does the Texas School Book Depository hold about the Kennedy assassination? A question that still echoes through the halls of history, stirring up a whirlwind of conspiracy theories and unanswered queries. On November 22, 1963, the world stood still as President John F. Kennedy's motorcade glided through the streets of Dallas. The Texas School Book Depository, a seemingly innocuous building, was suddenly thrust into the international spotlight. From its sixth floor, fatal shots rang out, forever etching this day into the annals of American history. Nestled behind a makeshift barricade of books was the alleged sniper's nest, a corner of the building that would become synonymous with one man, Lee Harvey Oswald. This was where Oswald, a new employee at the depository, was said to have lain in wait. But, with no witnesses to this act, the evidence against him was largely circumstantial, a collection of puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit together perfectly. The official narrative would have us believe that Oswald was the lone gunman, the sole architect of this day of infamy. But was he? Or was Oswald just a pawn in a larger, more complex game? Were the walls of the depository privy to a wider web of deception, its corners and corridors echoing with the whispers of a conspiracy? As the dust settled on that fateful day, the depository stood silent, its secrets locked away behind the veneer of a normal workplace. But inside, the air was thick with questions. Could Oswald have executed such a precise act alone? What role did the depository play in this tragic moment in history? Was Oswald a lone gunman, or was he just a pawn in a larger conspiracy? It's a question that continues to haunt us, a mystery that the walls of the Texas School Book Depository might hold the key to unlocking. As we delve deeper into the secrets held within, perhaps the truth will finally come to light. What was different about the morning of November 22, 1963, at the depository? Let's delve into the peculiarities that set this day apart. Employees of the Texas School Book Depository reported an unusual air that morning, a sort of tension that seemed to hang heavy in the halls. There were whispers of unfamiliar faces walking the corridors, their presence unexplained, their motives unknown. What were they doing there on that fateful day? In addition to these strange visitors, there were also unaccounted shipments. Boxes that arrived with no clear sender or recipient, their contents as mysterious as their origins. What were these parcels, and why were they delivered to the depository on that particular day? Then there were the hushed conversations. Employees talk of undercurrents of secretive discussions, a sense of something significant looming. These exchanges, while seemingly innocuous, took on a sinister hue in the aftermath of the events that transpired later that day. And in the midst of all this was Lee Harvey Oswald, a recent addition to the workforce. Oswald was a new cog in this vast and complex machine, a mere pawn, or potentially a key player in a much larger game. There's a question that looms large here. Did Oswald, a man who barely knew the ins and outs of the depository, act alone? Or were there others within the walls of the depository, people who knew the building inside out, who were privy to the impending doom? The morning of November 22, 1963, at the depository was no ordinary morning. It was a morning filled with anomalies, a morning that preceded one of the most shocking events in American history. The depository, a place of knowledge and learning, became a stage for a tragic event that would be etched in history. And within its walls, the course of the day took a sinister turn that left the world in shock and disbelief. Who else within the depository knew about the impending assassination? A question that lingers, echoing in the silent corners of the Texas School Book Depository, waiting to be answered. What happened in the crucial minutes following the assassination? As the echoes of gunshots faded into the Dallas afternoon, a storm of activity descended upon the Texas School Book Depository. The authorities arrived in droves, their actions swift, their expressions grim. The sixth floor, where Oswald was said to have been stationed, became the focal point of their investigations. Yet, amidst the flurry of activity, some suggest that there were moments lost, minutes unaccounted for. Whispers of suppressed conversations and concealed evidence began to circulate. The building, once a silent repository of knowledge, was now brimming with unspoken secrets and unvoiced doubts. The air was thick with the urgency of the unfolding situation, but was there more beneath the surface? Was there an orchestrated effort to control the narrative, to guide the trail of evidence towards a predetermined conclusion? The presence of unknown visitors earlier in the day, the unaccounted shipments, and the hushed conversations all pointed to a larger web of deception. The discovery of the 6.5 mm Carcano rifle was seen as the smoking gun, the conclusive evidence that Oswald had acted alone. But was it too convenient, too neat? The rifle, found amidst a barricade of books, was presented as the key to solving the puzzle. But could it have been a diversion, a ploy to distract from a more sinister plot? In the aftermath of the assassination, the focus was on the book depository, on Oswald, on that lone rifle. But what about the unseen corners of the building, the shadowed hallways, the unexplored rooms? Were there secrets that were overlooked? Evidence concealed, truths buried out of sight? The depository, once a hub of education and learning, had become a symbol of intrigue and conspiracy. Its walls, once silent, now echoed with unspoken questions and unvoiced suspicions. And within its confines, the truth of that fateful day may yet lie hidden, waiting to be unearthed. Was there an orchestrated effort to hide the truth? Was the depository a distraction from a more sinister plot? A question that has haunted historians and conspiracy theorists alike for over half a century. In the wake of the assassination, authorities found a 6.5 mm Carcano rifle on the 6th floor of the depository, purportedly the weapon of choice for Lee Harvey Oswald. But let's take a step back. The Carcano is an Italian bolt-action rifle, not exactly a first pick for precision shooting. And yet, Oswald, a mediocre marksman at best during his military service, supposedly fired 3 shots in less than 7 seconds, with 2 hitting their mark. Quite a feat, isn't it? Then there's the infamous magic bullet theory, suggesting that 1 bullet caused 7 wounds on Kennedy and Texas Governor Connally, seated in front of him. Critics argue it would have required near impossible physics for a single bullet to cause such damage. But the plot thickens. Witnesses near the grassy knoll, a small sloping hill located to the right front of the presidential motorcade, reported hearing shots from that direction. Some even saw a puff of smoke. Could there have been a second shooter, using the depository and Oswald as a distraction? Over the years, acoustical evidence has been both the champion and the downfall of the second shooter theory. Initial tests suggested a high probability of a shot from the grassy knoll, but later studies disputed these findings, throwing us back into a whirlpool of uncertainty. So, where does this leave us? Oswald, the Carcano, the depository, they all fit neatly into a narrative of a lone gunman. But the inconsistencies, the anomalies, they suggest something more. Was Oswald just a pawn in a larger game? Was the depository, with its labyrinth of books and shadows, just a stage for a more elaborate performance? We may never know for certain, but one thing is clear. The echoes of that day in November continue to reverberate through the annals of history, each ripple a question, a doubt, a possibility. Could the depository have been a mere smokescreen? Perhaps, just perhaps, the answer lies hidden in the grassy knoll, waiting to be found. Why was Oswald silenced before he could be thoroughly interrogated? This question has lingered for decades, casting a long shadow over the Kennedy assassination narrative. Lee Harvey Oswald, the man accused of pulling the trigger, was gunned down just 2 days after Kennedy's death, leaving a multitude of questions unanswered. Jack Ruby, a Dallas nightclub owner, was the man who killed Oswald. As the police were transferring Oswald from the city jail to the county jail, Ruby stepped forward from the crowd and shot Oswald with a single bullet. Oswald was rushed to the same hospital where Kennedy had been taken just days before, but doctors couldn't save him. Oswald was pronounced dead, leaving behind a labyrinth of questions that continued to baffle investigators to this day. Why did Ruby kill Oswald? Was it, as Ruby claimed, a spontaneous act of anger, driven by his grief over Kennedy's assassination? Or was there a more sinister motive? Some suggest that Ruby was part of a larger conspiracy, a custodian of secrets too dangerous to be unveiled. Ruby's actions effectively silenced Oswald, preventing him from revealing any possible co-conspirators or shedding light on the broader plot if there was one. And what of Oswald himself? Was he the lone gunman acting out of personal malice towards Kennedy, as the Warren Commission concluded? Or was he, as he claimed in the brief window between his arrest and his death, just a patsy, set up to take the fall for a crime he didn't commit? These questions, along with countless others, have fueled countless conspiracy theories over the years. They've transformed the Texas School Book Depository from a simple warehouse into a symbol of the deep-seated mysteries surrounding the Kennedy assassination. The death of Oswald, the alleged lone gunman, has left us with more questions than answers. And as we delve deeper into the hidden corners and dusty compartments of the depository, we might yet find clues that bring us closer to the truth. Was Ruby's act spontaneous, or was he protecting dangerous secrets? As we sift through the intricate tapestry of the Kennedy assassination, the answer to this question remains as elusive as ever.